What's up, everybody? I'm Sam from Single. Today I'm chatting with Anderson B. He runs a media and production company based out of California. Super excited to chat. He's been doing a bunch of stuff with music, video, even Web3 NFTs on top of Shopify with Single. So maybe before we get into it, I'd love to just have a little kickoff where you introduce yourself, your work, and we'll go from there.
Hi, everybody. My name is Anderson B. Cox. I run a company called Kayatick and we do media production. We do music as well as a little bit of animation, and we did just launch our NFT. Very excited to talk to Single about this. They've been very helpful in this whole process, and excited to get going.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I love what you said, how you're doing music, video, and NFTs. I think that's just a really new space altogether, let alone on top of Shopify. So I'd love to hear like how you ended up kind of opening up a store on top of Shopify, what your store really was first, envisioned as, and maybe where it's going now with the different tools that you're working with.
Yeah, definitely. So I started working with Shopify a little bit. I was actually thinking about doing a drop shipping for like merchandise and stuff like that. But I think I came across, I was in a YouTube wormhole. What I normally do is I'll research everything to like the core. I'll go into a big, deep dive on it. And I saw someone saying you could do digital drop shipping, which really piqued my interest. So I started doing a little bit more of that. They said you could do it through Shopify. And I was like, okay. And actually, I dropped the merchandising after I found out that I can do our movies, we can do our video, music, and the NFT stuff through Shopify. So I started deep diving how I can actually get more into that a little bit. How can I flesh out this media production company through a Shopify, have a storefront, have it set up. I thought it was super interesting. And like I said, when I start researching, I really go into researching pretty deep. Like I can't stop the knowledge. I have to keep going and going. And then that's how I kind of stumbled onto you guys. And I started doing a deep dive with you guys and realized what you guys can do. And that's kind of how everything grew from there. Shopify wasn't like really, I didn't think about Shopify to doing like a digital media company. I've always had a website that's kind of been like shaky, a little iffy, not the best, you know what I'm saying? Kind of cool, but not the whatever. But Shopify really expanded my mind of what could really be done.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point is like, people just don't often think about maybe doing things first party, let alone Shopify, which is maybe
Mm.
primarily thought of as just like merchandising, yet you're here
Right.
bringing media to it. And maybe if you could like speak to that just a bit, like why did you decide to make Shopify maybe more than just like a merchandise front, but a place to also create a hub for people to come engage with the stuff that you're building and creating?
So I have always wanted to have my website be showcase all our films, all our music downloads and everything. And I've done that a couple times. I paid a couple developers to put the
Hmm.
website up, and it's not like it's kind of clunky. It doesn't really work as well as you want it to. So um, I didn't know Shopify did things like that. Like I didn't know Shopify had a digital, like I said, a digital space in there until once you go into YouTube, the algorithm will start. Once you start researching stuff, it'll start pulling up all kind of different videos for you. So once I started seeing people saying, "No, yo, I'm doing digital books and I'm doing digital program like lessons and courses or whatever,"
For
my
sure.
brain automatically thought, oh, well, I don't have really a course or anything, but I have movies that we sell. I have, music. And then once I start realizing that Shopify is a place where I can actually, it's a very value tool. Like there's actually even though it's a digital space, it's a value tool because I can now host all my content on one particular place. I can now showcase all my content in one particular, like you can download my music directly through me instead of saying, hey, go listen to my stream over here. It was actually since I've been wanting to do this almost since like 2004, 2005 when we started doing music back or whatever. So the wheels start turning, the excitement starts going, like, oh man, I can really set up a website that is like, I tell everybody, technology finally caught up with my brain. I had this idea in my brain so long
Yeah,
ago that technology finally caught up to my brain. It's like, oh, now I can do this at ease.
for
Um,
sure.
and that's what really got me excited about it. So it was like, oh, once I found out that Spotify could do it, I found out there's some other ones, whatever. But I did my research on Shopify. Sorry, I got them twist up.
Yeah.
Shopify. Research on Shopify, and I started realizing that they're like the number one e-commerce. They have a lot of tools and assets in there. So once I settled with them, and I realized that I could literally do everything in my head that I've been wanting to do for years and years and years, it was a no-brainer for me. It was like,
Yeah.
I'm going to take this platform. I'm going to have a place where all my people can come in. I can gather their information. I can send them direct contact, their information. They can be
Yeah.
involved with our process. I can get emails and say, hey, we're doing this type of film. They can say, no, we don't want that film. Hey, we're doing this type of animation. No, we don't want that, or we do like that. And it's more engaging to me than it is to, put it on the YouTube where you're competing with a whole slew of everybody doing everything. It's like I have a place where I can build my own particular
Yeah.
information and genre and literally set that up for them.
Yeah. And I think you bring up a good point here where like those two worlds very much exist. Like you're gonna still like YouTube goes on even when you have a
Right.
Shopify store and you're doing your stuff. So that being said, like you do have to think about both of those worlds when you're putting out content. Like if you're just thinking about premiering stuff on YouTube, you're probably missing out on a good amount of like customer data, or in this case
Hmm.
viewer data. Who are those fans? And maybe for you, I would like to hear what your strategy is in terms of like distributing content. How does the
Sure.
D2C or direct to consumer world kind of get balanced with maybe the streaming platforms that are more typical for seeing, a movie release, a music video release? I know you do a whole, package of different things.
Right. Yeah, so I will utilize basically, the YouTube and Instagram and all that stuff because that's where the people are. I mean, you can't deny they got
Yeah.
billions of people that follows and whatever. But and I've been telling a lot of my buddies this as well, is like we're giving the full content to YouTube and its whole in its entirety, right? And if you read the terms and agreement, like they pretty much own that content and can do what they want. They can restrict you. They can do that. So my YouTube strategy, my Instagram strategy is the people are there. The people like the TikTok. They like to do. My little daughter loves to do the little TikTok dance or whatever. So you're not gonna bypass that, right? You're gonna be whatever. So it's like instead of giving them the full content, I use it more as like a commercial. Like I'll cut up a clip on my Instagram and I'll try to drive the traffic back to Chaotic Styles. Or I won't give you the full. We're doing an interview. We have a series called The Independent right now. We're talking about all these independent artists and what they have to go through and how they put their music out and how nobody really values the process of that process. And what I'll do is I'll put a little clip of that out and I'll drive you back to Chaotic to watch the full episode, to watch the whole entirety.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think what's
I
really interesting
okay,
about that too is like all those viewers that like probably were just views or
right,
usernames, like by them going a step further to actually engage with the content in your storefront, they have the ability then to maybe do a bit more from like a really engaged fan, and you also get to know
right,
who they are, reach back out. And I think it was just a week ago now. It's January 9th as we're
mhm,
recording this, but January 1st, you put out an NFT. And maybe you could speak a bit more about that because I know that's part of your strategy to kind of bring people into that behind the scenes world and get tapped into your creative process for all the different
yeah,
stuff you're putting out.
yeah. I think the NFT market is. I know it gets a pretty bad rap right now. I know everybody's been kind of deeming it, flawed or whatever. But I just look at it as kind of like back in the .com boom, back in the .com, they had like pets.com, phone.com, everything was whatever. People were getting 900%, profits off that. And then everything kind of crashed out. And then the real .coms came out and you start getting the Googles and you start getting the whatever. So I look at the NFT market as kind of like this is the beginning stage. I think in the future, about 5 years, everybody's going to have NFT. My strategy for the NFT is not that you're going to you're going to buy our Chaotic Styles, NFT, you're going to get super rich and famous off of it. It's like, or, you're going to have, a gazillion dollars. Our style is that we are going to actually create content specifically for the NFT. So you can only access it through the NFT. So we're going to have certain shows that if you have the NFT, you can watch it. And then you're going to have early access, like our vaulted collection right now is you're going to have access to everything on there. So all the
Yeah.
videos, everything we put, you'll have a first take on it. I look at it as more of a utility or a way of that you can get behind the scenes. We're doing animation, you get the character development. You can maybe put some insight on, maybe what you think the character should do or how the story should go. You can get, designs. You can see the whole process behind the scenes. Where if you're just, let's say you're just going to Chaotic Styles on the website, you might go there and watch the animation. But if you own the NFT, you might have a little collectible, and you might know the backstory of how this character came to be or what his origin story is. You might have all these different of all the characters, of all these different things, or you have access. You might have saw the animation first. You might have saw the pre-animation, the stick drawings, everything that led up to that before that. So we're trying to use the NFT as kind of like a key to just unlock a few other features that nobody else can really get to. It's like, I know the people that understand NFTs will kind of go, oh, yeah, this is kind of a cool utility. and that's what we're looking for. It's like a utility, like just a way to accent or highlight whatever we're featuring, but highlight a little bit more, give you a little bit extra. We might do a little bit of merch and things like that. I know you guys have merch that's set up that where you can only purchase maybe a hoodie that you can mainly get through the NFT type of style, things like that. So I think the NFT is a super clever way to enhance some of the products that we already put out. I think that's kind of what we're looking to do with it.
Yeah, and I think what you're building is really interesting as well. You've got, you got NFTs, you got music, you got video, you got merch, and then like in the creative space, there's just so much that goes on behind the scenes. And I think that truthfully is like such an incredible way to like bring people into the process, because so often I think, fans are like eager to show up at premieres on YouTube when something premieres, but just the
Right,
fact that they're itching to show up and like they're present at the time of release shows that like there's a desire to like be a part of that process, even maybe before it even just hits a premiere. So I
right,
think that's super cool that like you're using, platforms for reach but still driving people back. And maybe like one element to like really highlight is just the value of like doing this stuff all in one place. Like it is hard to have like one tool that does everything, but I think one of the
hmm
advantages I think to Shopify and why we see a lot of brands there and more artists and creators and experimenting in the space is there's like a whole ecosystem that like, Single does do a lot of things, but even if we couldn't, like there's probably something on Shopify that could, and you own that fully. Like you could connect the dots
right.
across a whole bunch of stuff that you're doing in the space.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. I think it's a way that you can really centralize like me for me personally. I can centralize all my products and centralize all my projects that we're going through. We're looking to have other artists and other filmmakers. I work with other filmmakers as well too. I'm trying to convince them, hey, before you go to YouTube, maybe let us host it for a couple months and then go to
Yeah.
YouTube after that, things like that. You guys have the live stream, so like you said, where people can get more and like they could watch it as like a premiere, like we could sit down and have a movie night and hey, we're going to showcase this movie, or hey, this band's going to do a live performance over here at this show where live stream it. I look at it as a super opportunity um, to really, like I said, the community to me is the biggest thing, whatever. So whatever we're trying to build for the community. So as long as we're getting interaction with the community and talking to them, and they're giving us some feedback, and they like the artists that we're showcasing, they like the movies that we're putting out together, and like I'm able to host it all on my own and not have to do like the YouTube countdown and that type of thing. Like it's all here. I can get like I said, get the contact information, let people know in advance. Hey, we're doing such and such here. Come over and check us out. I think people want to be involved with it. And the more they feel involved, the more appreciative they are. And then the more we appreciate them for being involved and helping us, grow what we need to grow and build what we need to
Oh,
build. Like
yeah.
everything that happens on our platform, if you download something or you rent something, that goes back to the project or to a new project. Like we're not looking to, we're looking to build and develop as much as possible. If you rent something for the 299, the whole 299 is going back into that either project, the short to make a full animation, a feature thing like that. We're really looking to trying to build that from that aspect.
And I think fans and viewers today, like, actually really that resonates with what they want from creators from all
Mm,
sides. It's we do show up on TikTok, we do show up on YouTube, right? Like that's part
right,
of our behavior. But I think with the rise of creators today, we're also seeing an extension of them showing up on these platforms for artists that they follow and they engage with.
right,
There's like another level beyond that of saying like, oh, I know where like my dollar's going. If even just like an influencer today gets a brand deal, if it's honest and if fans like understand why that brand deal happened, they're like, oh yeah, I support this. Like I want you to have success in this. It's not just kind of like out of nowhere. And I think that
and,
also translates into like this space as well where um having opportunities for fans to like maybe go that extra mile, or even not, just like make it accessible in a different way and
mm,
communicate like what it's actually doing for all the producers that you're working with and all the artists that you're working with by just premiering it literally just a little earlier, getting a little bit more out of what you're doing to like
right.
uh, um, kind of have that direct long-term connection and then have people show up in that way.
Yeah. And that's what we're looking for. I'm looking for a long-term connection. I'm looking to build relationships with our community, people that watch our movies. I want people to really be excited, like okay, because we're telling people we have in the, we didn't even read the script yet. We're just like, this is our next. this is what we
Yeah.
have coming out, this is whatever. So we're letting people know this is what we have, so they can kind of, let's say, be a little bit more vested, like maybe be a little more excited about it, like okay. And then, like I said, maybe with our NFT type stuff, you can go back and watch us sit at the table and hash out ideas, or you might be able to watch us do pre-production. You might be able to see an artist writing down his album type of deal, things like that. So I think
Yeah.
just like I said, letting people behind the scenes a little bit. I know behind the scenes is a kind of a, let's say, like a big deal. People like kind of being involved or whatever. We really want people to be involved. Like I really, it's not that I want you to just come watch, a video from us or go listen to some music we made. I really want you to be involved in the whole process. I want you
Totally.
to feel like you have a complete ownership in this. Like, hey man, I saw this when they were just writing down brainstorming or whatever. Now I see this whole animation, or I see this whole movie, or I see this great album. I really want people to say, I've watched this for a year and a half and this is finally coming out and I'm very excited to see it. I want people to really be involved and just,
I love that. Yeah.
gravitate to it. It's not, I don't create we don't create movies and everything. I mean, of course, everybody wants to get money and things like that, but that's not the reason why we got into it. We created because we wanted to share expression. We wanted to, you know what I mean? We want to give something. I've wanted to do this since like I was young. I was about 14 years old. I would be a director and filmmaker. So, and it wasn't to be like, oh, I don't want to drive a Mercedes or anything. It was like, hey, man, I really want to have these crazy ideas. I think movies always end the same way, and I don't think they should end that way. I think, music sounds the same way. I don't think it should sound that way. I think it should sound like this, whatever. So I really want to, involve people in that process and share with them. So the more they
Totally.
get
And
involved with us, the better, I think.
I also think you're bringing up a good point where like it's really common for anything in creative industries for artists, you make a new song and you're like, okay, go buy my vinyl now, go buy my merchandise. And then with
Right,
media as well, it's like, okay, now go show up to my live premiere. It could be in person or it could be um, you know, virtual, right?
right,
But like part of what you're doing is like flipping that script a lot, and it almost requires a little bit more, I don't know if courage is the right word, but there's like a level of like saying inviting people in a bit prematurely before the deed is done.
right,
And like but it gets people like up into that premiere, like they're part of it. And I think oftentimes we see like people get to that release moment of that release cycle and say, okay, let me just spin up all these things, and like it kind of becomes a afterthought of thinking
right.
what building that direct, fan relationship looks like from maybe even before you put something out. So I think even just how you're approaching it is like a really good model for people in the space to kind of take some tidbits from.
Yeah, I think like you said, a lot of people they just drop a project. I know a lot of times I see, go watch mine on Spotify, or go check this out on YouTube, whatever, which is cool. I don't, sometimes I check it out, sometimes I don't. But what happens, especially in the social media spaces, like you look at the timeline, you something might come up, and then if you want to scroll back to it, it might be gone or whatever. It's not, so maybe you do want to check it out, want to go back to it later, but it's already gone. The algorithm's already moved something on, just on to the next, or you'll scroll and you'll forget about it, whatever. So for me, like I said, if I build a process with somebody or a project with somebody, I want them to be really invested into it. And also, I want to make sure that when I'm creating the project, that it is something that somebody wants to see, or something that they care about, something that they are interested in. I just don't. I've learned as an artist, like I can make music for me that I like, but that doesn't mean it's going to resonate with everybody. So if I can get some feedback or get some intel from somebody, and I can create something that maybe we can both like, or we can both share, or we can whatever, then they're a little bit more vested, more likely to want to listen to something more, watch it again. Instead of just
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, this is what I like. Here, take it, support me." I know a lot of artists tell me like, there's no support here. I'm like, but did you like, build the support, or are you just putting something out and hoping that people really support just
Yeah.
because, you're doing your artist thing?
Yeah. No, I like that. Like building your support. And
Yeah,
as much as like you obviously can monetize, and that's
mm,
obviously a part of this artist story,
right, right,
wherever you are in the artist space, you need to earn to be able to put out. But building that support also like further enables that for the long run. And I think the work that you're doing by putting out your content like directly from yourself and building communities, definitely supporting that and whatnot. For
like you were saying earlier. Oh, my bad. Go ahead.
no, go for it.
So, well, like you were saying before, like when somebody is kind of, like you said, if you're building a project or you're putting out whatever, people want to be involved. Or so I think if somebody sees you, they want to be involved in the process, or they feel involved in the process. They're more likely to support you monetarily if they think like, okay, I've watched this person create, I've watched this person do whatever, they're more likely to say, yeah, I'll give you the $6,
Yeah.
whatever, because I watched you do it, instead of just, hey, I need $6 to go back into the studio to make a new song or whatever. Like I think that's the thing that I'm not saying some artists, I see some artists, hey, it's just, putting whatever. But I think if the more of you get them more like, hey, look, I did this, I worked this hard, I'm doing this, I'm talking to you, I'm engaging with you, whatever. So when they do see the project come up, they're more likely to say, yeah, you know what, I don't mind separating monetary money for you to help you do your thing. Like you're saying that, I think that's a very key for it.
Yeah, no, I feel that. For anyone that might just be starting out in the space, maybe to start just wrapping up this conversation as well, like what would you suggest for people that are just starting out? I know you do music and media production and whatnot. Like, what is your advice for building that infrastructure from like the get-go? What are some things you've learned?
Well, I definitely say do the homework, right? You got to find out exactly what you want to do. Like you said earlier, I have quite a few different things spanned all across the whole platform, whatever. But what I learned the best is focus on one. Like, you know what I mean? Hey, write all your ideas down that you have. I want to do NFTs, movies, films, everything. I want to do music, all this stuff, live streams. But then when you have your list, just focus on one. Like I think what happens is a lot of times people bounce this, bounce that. They don't see a reaction here. They don't see what they want to see here. So they're jumping all over the place, whatever. And what I learned in this whole process was, okay, I wanted to do the independent series, but I had to build the Shopify first. I had to build the website. I had to learn how to do the themes. I had to figure out what videos I wanted. So instead of just filming and just because that's the fun part, right? The filming and the recording and that's the fun part. But do one at a time. Like don't just jump all over the place. Even though it might take a little longer, you might want to be done with something in a week, a month, a year. But you just gotta. I think the best advice is one. Then once you finish that one, go to the next. Once you finish that one, go to the next. Because like I said, when you jump all over, you might lose distractions. You might miss some details somewhere. I've learned that myself. Like I've dropped a few details here and there. I have to go back and do it. So I think once you complete that full one process, it's done. Whatever, you can move to the next. You can really dedicate your time and energy to that process, and then you'll start seeing it build. The stepping stones will start to get a little bit easier. And also document everything because you never know. It might not maybe not for you, but you never know what might help someone else in the future. Like you might be able to say, "Hey, I did this way." You could document and show them instead of trying to tell them, and they'll have it that way as well.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, obviously I work with a lot of different artists and creators, people getting started on Shopify, and they come to us and say, "Hey, I want to do a live stream." And honestly, like the single part is usually the easiest part. It's like you get in there, you create it, take 5 minutes. But because you're building for the long haul, the beauty and beast of Shopify is that you could do anything. So there's just some prerequisites in some ways getting started. There's out of the box things on Shopify, but at the same time, like approaching those one by one and having a clear idea, and also just like not being afraid to get started. Like I think as you build, like it will also shape up. So focus on it, do it, and you'll have even more clarity. I think even as you just like take those initial steps and get in the solution itself and just start building.
Yeah, absolutely. Like as you know, even with my NFT, when I first launched my NFT, I did it wrong on Shopify, right? I completely did. I answered some question wrong. I was going back with Shopify, and they were like, "Hey, you do it this way." I was going with you guys. You're like, "Well, not that way. Hold on, we might want to do it this way." But the benefit of it was I got a chance to understand how if that were to pop up again, I got to understand to know how to do it again. I wrote down the questions, whatever. I found out what I had to answer correctly next time. You know what I mean? Like all that different stuff. I know do another store. I know exactly what it is. Like so, the process in itself was kind of like I don't know what I don't know how if I'm going to be. I was kind of nervous. I wanted to launch my NFT a little earlier. I was going to do something else, but me not launching at that time actually helped me settle down, not do it how I wanted to do originally. It's like, okay, well, do something a little bit different, whatever, and it helped me build a better NFT plan in the long term anyway. So like, just the process is the part of I think the process is the fun part for me. That's the best part to me, honestly. The development and the process, I think that's probably the best thing for me anyway. That's my favorite.
Yeah. No, I love that. Yeah, and we keep saying we're like last point, but maybe one last point is at least on my end. I think sometimes I have an idea, and I work with a lot of creatives. I'm a creative myself, and you have this one idea, but that one idea actually unlocks something, and I think that's kind of this space that you're in. So just kind of getting started and like doing it right and like setting things up right so that you can keep building for the long haul is like so critical. And as you get going, like things will shape up, like things will make sense. It's like you got to do your due diligence and show up honestly and do it. But I think there's a lot of reward on the other side as you're like starting to see with, you've been putting out content and you're having people show up and say like, I want to be part of this movement. And that kind of transcends just like the usual product sales that you might have in Shopify or viewers on Instagram. They're now part of your journey and kind of with you for
Right.
the long haul. So yeah, if there's,
Definitely.
do you have any, I always like to kind of wrap these up just saying like, if you have any like last words or where could people find you and support you? And then we'll go from there.
Well, any last words? I want to just thank everybody that took the time to watch this. Of course, the time is the most valuable asset we have, so I appreciate anybody that listened to this and just take a moment to check out what we're doing here in Chaotic Styles. You can find us at Chaotic Styles. Just put Kayatick anywhere. It's across all platforms. Twitter, Instagram, all that. It should pop up. There shouldn't be too many other Chaotic Styles out there. If they are, we'll come for you guys. Just kidding. But no, and just like I said, and we're creative here. We're preset the process. Come follow us, follow our journey. We're going to be our catalog is not as big as we wanted to, but give us time. We're going to build that catalog, and we're going to build it just for the people that kind of are following us and behind us and backing us. We're building that catalog for you. It's not for advertisers. It's not for trying to get super this and that. We're just trying to build it for the people that love entertainment, love music, love movies, want to have a movie night, throw some popcorn in, don't want to see the movies end the same way like they always do, with the happy ending. Maybe sometimes, maybe I end up happy, maybe it won't, who knows? But we're
Yeah.
using, and other creatives as well. Come talk to us, man. Shoot us a message. We're looking to highlight you guys' movies and films and music as well. Like, when it's not just an in-house thing, we want to reach out to other people. Our
Cool.
platform is designed just for artists. That's our artists, people that are into arts and stuff like that. So just come check us out.
Cool. I love that. Well, thanks everybody for watching. I'm sure that Anderson and I will keep chatting. So yeah, stay in the loop and you'll hear more from us. So again, thanks for watching. See you next time.
Guys.